The bow to me is one of the more important things of violin. I think almost more important than the left hand. Left hand is of course important for making the notes, but without a good bow stroke, all of this will feel flat and not powerful, and it'll get tighter, and it'll be more difficult to get the sound that you want out of it. And so I think a good bow stroke is probably more important than a really good left hand, even with like vibrato and quickness. So getting a good bow stroke is essentially getting a good bow hold. And what a good bow hold does is it balances the bow in your hand so that your arm can move and your wrist can move and your fingers can move all in unison, and to get your strokes down and up to be basically the same. If it's unbalanced, your downstroke might be stronger or weaker than the upstroke, and the up might be weaker than the downstroke. Then we're doing all this weird compensating. So I think the most important thing is to have that good bow hold. So there are a couple good bow holds that are in the market these days. The most basic concept though is to have a relaxed hand with very limited tension in it, to have very loose fingers, and to have your thumb in a place where it can support the stick. So this is basically how I teach the bow. Is find the lines in the joints of your first three fingers. Get a little bit of looseness in that. Hold your hand upside down. Run the bow into those joints so that you could feel that pressure. Once your second finger gets to where this grip ends, that's basically where you're going to stop, and that's where your thumb is going to go to. Now your thumb is going to reach up and bend so you can have the nail present, and hold the bow between those two fingers. I like to have the hair touching my thumb a little bit. That's not a problem. Then I wrap my third finger around it and it basically touches the frog there, although it's not glued to it. The pinky bounces on top and is curved like that. You can see that my hand is really a circle there. It's open. And the first finger finds that same joint on there, but it's a little bit raised maybe, and that's because the first finger is going to give a little bit of pressure onto the string. So you want to be able to get this bow hold and be able to balance it up and down, side to side. Do some pinky push-ups. This is good for pinky push-ups. Feel this wiggle between your fingers. When you come to the string, the main goal is to have the bow contacting the string at what's called the point of contact, or the sweet spot, or some call the highway. It's basically right where the F holes end. You can see that the F holes hole is basically over where the sound is going to be coming out. And the bow is going to be basically flat to the string. You want it maybe a little bit turned away from you instead of towards you. This is not what you want. A nice natural arm, and you want it just to go straight. So it keeps on contacting that one spot right there. If you go too close to the bridge, you get this wispy, airy, like nails on chalkboard sound. That's called ponticello. It's actually a good color, but it's not what you want usually. You want this clear, crisp tone there. If it's too far over the fingerboard, it's going to be a flabby sound. It's really not going to connect. This is physically the best place for the bow to contact the string. Right there. So when it's up in action, you want the fingers to be reachable here. That is very important. And you want the bow to come to the violin instead of having your bow here and moving your body towards the violin. You want everything to come to it. So I use my fingers to direct the bow. Being able to do this is really important, sort of moving the bow tip with just your first finger, your pinky, move the bow all around to rotate it like this, be powerful. Some people do this. Be very careful with this to do this over a carpet, because if this drops and lands right on your frog, you can destroy your bow and make it just explode, and that would be very sad for you. So make sure that you do that caterpillar thing over a carpet. The other part of a bow is getting a little bit of pressure into the string with a little bit of this rocking over. You can see that my first finger pushes, my pinky pushes back, and my thumb stays pretty much where it is, and the bow rolls over that. Looking at it this way. So that's going to apply a little bit of pressure onto the string. And for violin, you want that little bit of pressure. You want arm weight too, but you want the pressure to be your direction. All the way to get a nice, sustained, consistent stroke. One of my teachers, my college teacher, told me that you want to feel the bow sinking into the string. You can literally see it sinking. That's the camber, the curvature of the bow allows that to happen. And I like to direct it with a little bit of that finger pressure here. Some bow holds are more like this with the finger on the other side of the knuckle. That might be the Russian bow hold, which I'm not really great at, but some people do that. Hey, if it works for you, it works. The important part is to be able to get flexibility and to be able to have the sound consistent so that you can change bow directions anywhere you want. So that's what you want with your bowing. The last part is string changes. To change the level of the bow, of course, you have to, rotate it this, but you want to be able to get your arm free so the musculature works really well. So when you go from the E string level to the G string level, start with your hand and come up and let your elbow follow. If you just do this, going like here, all the musculature up here is frozen and you won't have any control over it. You have to get your arm open. You can imagine like a Tai Chi thing where you have, they say, a robin's egg under your armpit, and if you squash, you're going to have a mess. So you want to be able to get this open, and what that does is it opens your chest and opens your shoulders. It makes everything flow from the back muscles all the way to your fingertip and your chest, and everything working together in harmony instead of opposition. So when you go for your string crossings, lift up and get this outwards feeling where your forearm is really high. When you drop from the elbow so you maintain this pressure on the string and your bow hold stays consistent. So happy practicing.